We're not here to make up the numbers, we're here to compete as well. This squad, with the power they have on their day, they can do anything they want.
Alright everyone, hello, welcome to another episode of the Glassgirls network, doing these sort of interview thing. I say interviews, it sounds very formal, it's just a little chat. Today we're here with Amber Lawrence. Amber, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. I'm even better after that result, so yeah, really good.
Yeah, I suppose that is where we're going to start really. Today's result, 2-0 against Leafield, really good performance I thought. What did you think of the match today?
I think it was a good performance. I don't think necessarily it was as interesting as the last time we met. I think it was a little bit flat at times, but obviously, you know, we go through the motions, and you know, today was obviously really important because it was a league game. So I think the fact that we've come away with 3 points is obviously the biggest takeaway from today. I think on a personal note, really happy to get a goal. It's been a long time since I scored actually, yeah. So I'm glad the drought's over. And even more special to do it with Alex Nicklin. Yeah. Really happy with that. So yeah, good day at the office.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned it there. Sort of obviously, Leafield. We played them a couple of weeks ago in the what was it, the plate?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, how did that game compare to this game today?
They wanted it a lot more. I felt the last time we played them. I feel like they didn't really come with the same intensity today as they did last time. I think that there was a lot more supporters there last time as well, and the whole atmosphere, it was heightened. The fact that it was a cup game made the competition a bit more intense. I think they didn't threaten us today, so I think we expected a little bit more in terms of a challenge. I think we probably could have scored a few more goals today, but last time we played, obviously they held us for a very long time. They did really well to let us not score. I think they defended with all that they had. I think they were missing one of their key players today from the last game. I think her name's Jess Lowe. She really impressed the last game. I don't think she was here today. I think that made a big difference for them, just with the wide play, which they necessarily didn't do today. I don't know whether I can't remember them having a chance today, so I think we really stepped it up, to be honest. So
yeah, 100%. So yeah, did that sort of surprise you? You know, obviously you'd be doing a lot of preparation for that match. I'm guessing that you focused a lot on that previous match we had. Did it sort of surprise you the way they came across today?
I think so, but I think an important thing to note is we don't really focus on anybody else but ourselves. We pay a lot of attention to what we're doing. Yes, we do do a little bit of research on any opposition that we're playing, but the main focus is always on what we're doing and what we can do better as a squad, and we don't necessarily cater that for other teams. It's always just about how we can improve ourselves. So yeah, I kind of expected a little bit more fight from them today, but yeah, just really happy to come away with 3 points.
Yeah, and you mentioned it there, a goal for yourself today. Talk us through that one.
I just, obviously not starting today, and excuse me, and obviously coming on, you want to make an impact, don't you? And this club means the world to me, and to score at the War Memorial in front of fans after not scoring for a while. It feels really good, and it's a big confidence boost, because like so many of the squad, I'm a confidence player, so I on a personal level I really need that today, and hopefully I can just push on from here. Yeah,
you mentioned it there, starting on the bench. Obviously you say you want to come on, you want to make an impact, but is it a bit frustrating when you see that you're on the bench and you're not able to make that impact from the start of the game?
Oh, of course it is. I don't think you could find any player in any squad of any team that would be happy to see that they're on the bench. But the main thing is it's not about me. It's about everybody else. And I feel that the squad have all got the general consensus is the same. Like the goal is the same. And to achieve that, we all just need to focus on ourselves, but the main goal is to work for each other. And I think that, if you are on the bench, myself included, you've just got to make sure that when you do come on, you give the manager a headache, Fisher's got to be that person to make the decision. As a player, you've got to make it hard for the manager to make that decision. Definitely. So, it's about the team, but on a personal level, you just want to do your best, don't you?
Yeah, 100%, yeah. And, looking forward, obviously, Peterborough next week.
Mm-hmm.
We want to get a bit of revenge, I would have thought. What are your thoughts going into that one?
I think, I mean, it's so difficult because this league, we've obviously, you know, a few of us have been here for a few years and we're used to just going down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go in on a Sunday morning at 9 o'clock, you know, some of us have got families, we've got full-time jobs, getting up on a Sunday at 9 o'clock and then going down to Peterborough, which most of the journeys are all on A roads, so you get sick on the coach. So you know, that's just another thing. It all adds up to the bigger picture, doesn't it? And I think that we want to go there and just give it our best. I don't know whether, you know, I think there's some talk of maybe some rotations in the squad because of the nature of it. You know, I think our biggest focus is the league. And that's no disrespect to the competition, the opposition. It's just I think our priorities are in a different place now. And I think it would be good for players who haven't necessarily had much game time, or some under-18s or some reserves to kind of step up and make that impact, really. Yeah,
and you mentioned it there, the travelling aspect. Obviously last season there was a lot of, you know, closer teams. I'm thinking like Kiddy Harriers, and this season, you know, we've already been to Doncaster, you know, Lincoln, places like that. Yeah, how does that sort of affect the squad?
It's tough, and I personally have found it very hard just with, obviously I only had my daughter less than a year ago, so for me that's a big cultural shock for me, having a full-time job, playing football part-time and also being a full-time new mum.
Yeah.
So it's really, really impacted me, tiredness and commitment-wise, but, you know, like I just want to keep going and doing well for the club, hopefully. And I think that a lot of players feel it, especially the older guys who, well, not old, you know, but the guys who have got like full-time jobs and things like that. I think it's a lot, and you've gone from a league where, you know, it's not as intense, and the travelling and the commitment, and, you know, but I think everybody has such a love for this club that they're going to, and they do it anyway. Do you know what I mean? So
100%.
I think, it's been a culture shock for a lot of players. We've obviously brought in players who have played at this level before, so it's good to go for them for advice on things like that and how to manage it. But yeah, I think we're coping with it quite well. We're coming up to the Christmas break now, and, you know, we're doing really, really well. And I think it's a testament to, like, you know, everybody that's involved, and just the commitment from everybody has been fantastic. So yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Now we're going to throw it back here. We're going to go all the way back to the start. What are sort of your first steps into football?
So I can't really remember. It was 20 years ago now. That sounds so weird when you say it, but my family's always been very sporty. They're like involved in, everybody in my family really involved in sport. So I think my dad is a big Villa fan, like we all are.
Right.
And Tony Morley was doing coaching sessions for, I think it was ages 8, down at one of the schools by where we used to live. And my dad took me, and it went from there really, and I played grassroots football for a couple of years before going to Stoke Centre of Excellence, and kind of stayed with them until I was a senior footballer. And then, without like going down the whole timeline, that's kind of where it kicked off. Stoke was like my first big club. I think I joined when I was maybe like 11.
Right.
Stayed there till I was 16, and like loved it there. But, you know, looking back now, being old and wise and having a family of my own, like, you know, my dad driving me up, we're from Cannock, so it was a 45-minute drive to training twice a week, and then on a Saturday morning, and you don't realise it back then, and you look back now and you think, like, wow, like, you know, that's a lot for somebody to do, and I'm just so grateful that he did, because I feel like I've had a really good career, and, you know, it's all down to him doing that after work. And I mean, I couldn't think about that right now, finishing work at like 5:30, 6 o'clock, and then driving up to Stoke. So, you know, like it all goes down to him, really. Yeah,
it's a massive commitment, definitely. Like, so you say you were there from an early age, and then you went into senior level there?
Yeah, so we, I think there was a couple of graduates that went into the first team, myself, Meg Bowyer, Lucy Ridgway, and we played first team football. But it was frustrating as a 16-year-old, you know, sitting on the bench, and you don't realise it then. But back now, like looking back now, you know, I probably should have stuck it out a bit more. But you know, at the time, one of my coaches, Vicky Mitchell, who I really got on with, really admired. She went to Wolves, so I followed her and went and played at Wolves for a bit. So yeah. I think maybe I got a little bit restless. I a little bit frustrated. I wasn't very patient. I loved it at Stoke. It was a shame to leave, but you know, they gave me the kind of platform to move on, really.
Yeah. So what level were they playing at that time?
So I can't remember what it was called. It was like mid-county, I can't remember.
Right.
But if you were looking at equivalent now, it's probably the same where we are.
Okay,
now.
so sort of
tier
national,
4,
tier 4.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you say you went to Wolves after that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was that like? What was that move like?
So I've always, in my younger days, been a striker. I was always a number 9, and then when I went to Wolves, I was used as a wide player, which. That isn't me. That's not the type of player that I am, and I think again I got frustrated, and kind of I think I stopped playing for a bit. I genuinely can't remember. I think I went to uni after that. So I went to uni. I took some time out. Started playing university football, and then I think I went to Burton Albion. Do you know what? You really tested my memory now. But yeah, I went to Burton after that. No, I'm lying to you, I didn't. Can we cut this bit
We
out?
can. John, make sure none of this goes in.
He might do some bloopers, maybe. But yeah, so I went to uni, and whilst I was at uni, I signed. That's when I signed for Doncaster.
Yeah. And
that was tough. But as a 18, 19-year-old, you know, it was a WSL club, and I went and played in the devs. I got the opportunity to play first team, train with the first team, and you know, it was a bit surreal for me at some points because I was training next to like England internationals like Sue Smith, and it was just so bizarre. And, like Beth England, she was just taking the mick out of me because I was so short. So that was funny.
As Andy Fisher just comes into the room and does whatever he's doing there. But yeah, so you mentioned there sort of. I think you said when you were at Wolves, you were playing sort of a multitude of positions. That's something that we've sometimes seen down at Stourbridge as well. So, where do you feel that you play best at the moment?
I 100% as a 10. Like because I've always used to be a striker. It wasn't until I
Not the resis.
It wasn't until I went to Burton that I started playing as a cam. But while I was at Villa, I played like full back. And I think people kind of looked at my height and thought, you know, she just got pace. But it's never been where I enjoy playing. Like I couldn't be a wide player. It's just too much running. I'm too lazy for that. But yeah, so my best position I feel is definitely as a number 10, just sitting behind the front line and feeding the balls through and just being, you know, creative. Yeah. But yeah, that's probably where I would say my strengths lie.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. You know, when I see you on the pitch playing a 10, I think that's where you're at the best. You know, this sort of little touches, the little skills every now and then. Is that something that you've always had in your game as well?
I think so. Do you know what? My memory is so bad. Like, I'm trying to like cooperate with you here. But yeah, so I feel like I've always been like tried to be quite tricky. It's changed a lot for me since I had my daughter. I'm definitely a different player now, but I do think that ties into the confidence thing. I think when I definitely believe I'm still not fully fit, but I have to be patient with myself and remember that it's not even been a year yet, and I had 3 months out after my surgery, and you know it takes a long time for a cesarean to heal. So you know I'm my worst critic, and I put the biggest pressure on myself, but I need to just like relax a little bit and just remember things take time. And if I can keep doing these things and you know assisting and scoring goals, then that's what matters. And this club is what matters. So it's not necessarily just about me.
100%. Yeah. Going back to Doncaster. Obviously we've been there already this season. It's a long way away. How did that sort of come about?
So I remember it was my ex-manager, because I was at Burton at the time, and he sent me like a screenshot saying that they were doing trials, and he was like, why don't you go for this? And I lived in Worcester at the time, and to put that into context, that's a very long
way, yeah.
It used to take me, on a good day, 2.5 hours each way to go. And I remember one day I turned up and it was absolutely hammering it down with snow. And we used to train next to the one call, is it One Call Stadium? What's it called now? Donny Stadium.
Yeah,
anyway.
I don't know.
We used to train right next to that, and it was absolutely freezing all the time. And I turned up and it was snowing, and I'd got stuck in traffic. It took me about 3 hours to get there. And as I'm saying it, I realise how crazy it all sounds. But I wanted to do it, you know, like it didn't bother me, the travelling. But I remember turning up and the coach goes, you know, that's commitment, that is.
Yeah.
Also might be a bit stupid. But, the uni helped me with cost and stuff like that. So I got a scholarship while I was at uni because I was playing for Doncaster. And, you know, that really helped me out financially. So I was able to do it. It was just the fact that I had that dedication and that effort to go and try and, try and make it. You know, unfortunately it didn't work out, and that's life, isn't it? But, you know, it was a fantastic experience, and, you know, I think it's a real shame that they're not still where they are, because the club to be a tier 4 club after the history that it's had, it's a real shame, really. And I unfortunately missed the game against them. I was on holiday. But you know, I can't wait to have them down here and try and have a good game. Yeah, hopefully,
because they are one of our title contenders this season. How have you do you still have much contact with them at all, or is it?
No, do you know, like the girls that I played with, one of them she plays for Sheffield. The other one, in fact, there's one girl who's still at Doncaster. Beth England's obviously at Chelsea now, and a couple of the girls play for like Lincoln, and everyone's kind of moved on. I don't think there's anybody there apart from Holly Housley who's still there, really. I think they just had a complete like restructure. But I mean, if you were playing at, you know, that kind of level, and then you keep getting, you would leave, wouldn't you?
Yeah, probably. So now we're going to move on to your time just before Stourbridge, Kiddy Harriers. Talk to us about that period of your life.
Oh, do you know what? I loved it at Kiddy because when I joined Kidderminster, I just split up with my long-term partner. So I moved from Worcester to Kidderminster, and I lived with my teammate Molly, who's the captain over there now. And it was just great because there wasn't much commitment. We were playing, I swear it was tier 6 at the time, or it wasn't a great standard. And you know, you would turn up to training and there'd be like 4 or 5 people there, and I was thinking, oh God, what is this? But you know, credit to Malk and Sal, who were, you know, kind of the guys in charge there. They really took it places, and we brought in players like Alex Nicklin, we brought in like Danny Selms and players like that. So they really grew something out of nothing, and you know, they should be really proud of what they did there. And yeah, it was great because I was scoring goals, I was having fun, and I played with confidence, and we always used to beat Stourbridge, so it was great. So yeah, I loved it at Kiddy, and every time, if we don't have a game, or you know, I'm not playing, I will always go and watch them. You know, some of my closest friends still play there, so yeah, no like qualms about Kiddy.
Talk to us about those games against Stourbridge. What were they like?
I was used to like scoring them, and then like Andy would be going nuts on the side. I think there was one really, really close game we were at home, as in Kiddy were at home, and it was 1-1 right until the 90th minute, and I took a free kick and we scored from it. And it was 2-1. That was the closest game that we ever had with Stourbridge, because normally like we used to beat them quite comfortably. But then obviously the table was turned very soon after that, didn't they? So yeah.
Yeah, so, and then obviously moving on to Stourbridge, but what was that sort of initial, you know, thoughts about the deal being presented to you like?
So I remember Court was here. I didn't really know much about what had been happening at Stourbridge, and you know, it wasn't until after that it became very noisy about what we were trying to do as a club and what Stourbridge was trying to do. So I didn't really know any of the girls here. and I was getting to a point at Kidderminster where I was getting a bit like deflated. I've been there for 4 years, you know, like it was the same old thing. We used to like beat teams quite comfortably, and it was like, you know, I think I need a challenge now. And I was on holiday at the time, and I felt bad because I had such a personal connection to Kidderminster. You know, it felt like I was doing them dirty. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was obviously like approached, and we did the 7 days thing, and I came and I sat in this room. This table wasn't here, but I sat with Bully and Fisher, and they told me the plans for the club. And you know, looking back at that now, and where, like, just sitting here with you right now, it's just crazy, like how times have changed and how amazing it is. Like, just I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Yeah. So in that first initial conversation with Bully and Andy here,
Yeah.
you said the sort of vision they had. Has it sort of come to life?
Oh, absolutely. I think they've overachieved it 100%. Who would have thought that we'd be sat in this position right now, at where we're approaching Christmas, and I think we're 11 points clear now after today.
Something like that.
Like, it's just nuts. Like, and that's just it's an overall team effort. It's not down to any individual or any player or any one coach or manager or backgrounds. It's just a group effort. And the fact that I think I've never been at a club where, you know, we're on a Friday night and we're all together.
Yeah.
You know, we're here on a Sunday until whatever time, and it's just amazing. Like, I can't vouch for it enough.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, that's something that everyone knows about us. We're such like a connected bunch. How does that sort of affect what we see on the pitch?
I think that's a hard question. But you can tell that everyone's comfortable with each other. Like, I say to the girls all the time, I feel like in every huddle before every game, it's like, communicate. And I think that's a whole like game wide thing. Like, I don't think it's Stourbridge specific, but you find sometimes that games can be very quiet. Like, today was very quiet. I don't know if you noticed, but it just felt quiet. And I think that sometimes that we could improve on like how loud we are on the pitch. You know, it really can intimidate oppositions. But I just think that, like, sometimes, and for me especially, like working with players like Alex, I've played with Alex for coming up to 6-7 years now, and we just, like, it's almost like telepathic, you know. We know each other, and you know, she's my best friend, and you know, like, we work really well together. But the fact is that everybody is friends here, so you know that if anything's ever said on the pitch, it doesn't go anywhere further than that. You will apologise straight away. I think Ez and I we've always kind of bickered on a pitch, but in like within 2 minutes we're like, oh, I'm sorry. And like, oh, I'm sorry too. So, you know, overall it's just the cohesion and the togetherness is something that's been hammered home a lot by the staff, and it's something that, you know, we definitely practice what we preach. Yeah,
so going back to those first few seasons, obviously COVID had a large part to play in those. How did you find that?
I had a baby to pass the time. No, so it was tough, and I think I played the first COVID where we didn't get the promotion because it got cancelled, and then I was pregnant the year after. So yeah, it was really tough because we deserved to go up, and it shouldn't have been done on an application process. No. It should have been done fairly. We shouldn't have had to have, you know, wrote down why we should have got promoted, because we were knocking on the door for years, you know, and we've proved ourselves, more than proved ourselves, that we can compete at this level. So yeah, it really unfortunate couple of years, but we're reaping the rewards now. Oh, I did really well saying that then.
Yeah, that was good, yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, you mentioned it there. Obviously, the pregnancy happened. How did that sort of affect your you know, did it affect your love of football at all?
No, because I was down here every Sunday watching the girls, and I think I was very close to my due date when we played Derby, and we travelled up to Mickleover. I think it's Mickleover, isn't it?
Yeah, somewhere around there, yeah.
And I remember when Courtney scored that goal, I think I nearly went into early labour. I say that to the girls all the time. I was sick of me saying it, but yeah, I came and watched every week. I was still very much in and around it. And when I'd had you know, everybody was so lovely, and Gaffer was like, you know, just take your time, because I wanted to rush back, and I came back early. Like, I shouldn't have done any exercise for the first like 12 weeks after the C-section. So I came back early. I came back after 10 weeks because I was just missing it so much.
Yeah.
And then I got to my first training session and I was like, wow, like the intensity had changed so much. And I think the girls had like stepped it up so much from the season before that I almost had 2 seasons to catch up on.
Yeah.
So everybody was like up here and I was like down here. So I had like twice the mountain to climb. And, you know, I give myself a hard time sometimes, but I've got to, Andy says it to me all the time, you know, I've got to think about how far I've come since having her. You know, like I'd come back and, you know, I think I'd scored like 10 goals in 7 games or something, like on my, like in that little bit of the last season.
Yeah.
So, and I look back at that and I found the negative in it, and I thought, and like sometimes I sit back and go like, Amber, come on, like you've done really well, like, and I think everybody's a bit guilty of that sometimes. We've just got to learn to be a bit more patient.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
it was tough.
I do have the stats here as well. 7 goals in 8 appearances at the end of the season.
You could cut that bit out.
Yeah, exactly. John, do your magic again. But yeah, so obviously the pregnancy, it's obviously a women's football problem. And being a fan of the men's side of the game for so long, it's not something that I really know too much about. So after you find out you're pregnant, sort of, how quickly do you step away from football then?
Oh, do you know what? I stepped away immediately. I didn't know I was until I was 2 months pregnant. It was so bizarre. I had a really, this is going to get like, you know, like quite deep now.
Yeah, go for it.
I had a really tough pregnancy, and I had a copper IUD, which is a coil that had to stay inside me for the entire duration.
Really?
So the first kind of time that I went to see a consultant, they were like, you know, your baby might be deformed, like you're probably going to miscarry, it will probably be born prematurely if you do make it. So I was kind of filled with the fear of God from like the get-go of finding out that I was pregnant. So I found it very, very tough initially. Luckily she's healthy and everything turned out fine. But then after that came the emergency C-section, so she nearly died when she was born. Wow. And because it was COVID, my partner Adam wasn't allowed to come into theatre. I was put to sleep, and then I kind of woke up and they were like, here's your baby. So it was like, oh, okay. And you know, it was really, really tough. And the hardest part was the recovery, because I didn't want to have a C-section, you know, I had to. And you know, I think physiologically, after having a baby, there needs to be more research into the game and how we can help women and female players who want to have a baby, because some might not feel like they can because of their especially in the high leagues. You know, how can we get a full rehab program in? Because, you know, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to do sit-ups for like 6 months after having her, and yeah, it was nuts. And I have forgot what your question was. I feel like I've gone completely off tangent.
Well, I can't lie, I've forgotten as well. I'm just as bad. But yeah, let's move on anyway. So obviously you came back, 7 goals in 8 games, like I mentioned. Scoring on your return to the side. What was that like?
Oh, it was amazing, and the fact that it was caught as well was just even better. And it was quite an acrobatic one, you know. I got told off. My mum saw it. She was like, "Why are you doing that? You literally had surgery like 3 months ago, and you're throwing yourself in the air." It was because I love the game, and to score on my return was it was massive, and I really felt it from everyone else as well. Like the girls were like so happy, and like the management and everybody were like, "Oh my god, like well done." So yeah, really, really pleased that happened.
Yeah, so
I'll always remember that.
Yeah, 100%. Always live in the memory. For me personally, watching you return to the side, obviously I'd started following the women's game here at Stourbridge in our game against Sutton Coldfield at the start of the season. So I had never seen you play before that match, and you come on, you do that, and then like I say, 7 goals in 8 games, and I thought, you know, who's this person we've had hiding for so long, you know? And then obviously you've really done well this season as well when you've played, and yeah, so it's really, really good to see. But my next question to you is sort of the biggest question. When your baby does eventually get a bit older, are you going to be the sort of mom that is pushing in the direction of football?
Oh, I'd like to think that if, I mean, she can do whatever she wants.
Yeah.
If she wants to say, like, Mom, I want to be like a singer, dancer, like,
Yeah.
that's fine. You know, whatever she wants to do. But if she did get into football, I think what a time for her to do it. Hopefully, we're not. I don't want to wish the years away,
No.
but we're a long way off. But you know, if she does go into football, it's such an amazing time to be a young footballer. You know, everybody, most of the people who are in that room now haven't had the opportunity that the next generation will have. We've had to, you know, like pay for kit, pay subs, and you know, even at big clubs like Wolves, Stoke, Villa, you know, it was so flawed for so long, and obviously with the success of the Euros and things like that, I feel like people are starting to listen, and you know, look at Newcastle, they got 25,000 going to St James's Park. That would have been unheard of like a few years ago. So the game is constantly growing, and if Isabel gets to be a part of that, if she wants to, like, that would be amazing. But I would never be one of those parents that shouts on the sideline. Like my dad, in the entire time he came and watched me play football, he never said a single word to me. He didn't say, you played really well, he didn't say bad.
Really?
He just like took me and let me enjoy it. And I think he did once because I headed it, because I never headed the ball.
Yeah.
I do like, it's like, defensively, but I can't, like, I really get really scared when it's from the corner. I'm not gonna lie.
That's why you're taking them usually.
Yeah, exactly. So when he like saw me head it once, he gave me like a little fist pump, which is the most I've ever got out. But that worked the best way for me. So yeah, you know, she might do, she might not, but if she does, fully back her.
Yeah, brilliant. So yeah, and then obviously you've come back. You've worn the captain's armband quite a few times since then. What's that like?
I love it. So obviously we've caught being injured. I've always been vice captain since coming to the club, really. So obviously with her out, I've had the, I don't want to say honour because that was a bit cheesy, but I've had the privilege of you know, wearing the armband, and it means a hell of a lot to me, because for her, because my heart bleeds for her being injured for so long and not being able to play, but she's here every week and she's supporting, and the girls are so supportive of her, and we can't wait to have her back. But I think for me, I want to do as best as possible for her, for the club, for the girls, and I'd like to think that, you know, I'm quite a firm captain, but also very like motivating, and I just want the girls to push on and do the best. I find myself like on a Saturday night kind of like rehearsing what I'm going to say in the middle, and then when I get there it just doesn't come out. So but yeah, no, it's a real privilege, and you know, very, very lucky to be able to do that with this team.
100%. Yeah, so, and then going on to this season, obviously the National League, you mentioned earlier that you played sort of the equivalent of this tier. How does it compare now to what you played with, you know, years ago?
A lot different, purely because when I was kind of 16, like the girls that were playing were a lot older. It's kind of the equivalent now, like I am now those girls who I was sat on the bench watching, if that makes sense. But now what we tend to see a lot more is the youth being pushed through, and there are a lot younger players. I mean, like Meg Hadley, she's what, 19, 20, and she's played so much football at this level, and like it's just a testament to like these pathways and how they're working. I think it's a lot quicker, and I do think that the standard is a lot better now. But that's just down to the growth of the game, isn't it? So
100%.
We might see it in like, you know, 5 years' time, the equivalent of the Super League, you know, now being this level, because the game has grown so much and the infrastructure's just improved it all tenfold. So, you know, it's a lot better now, a lot more competitive. I think there's a lot more commitment now, because I know even back then, like, you know, when I was at Wolves, we were playing kind of Stoke, and I think I can't remember what, but it wasn't too far. We certainly weren't travelling to Lincoln and Peterborough and things like that. The game's changed so much since then, but for the better. Yeah,
and you say that the level of game, you know, the standards improved. Did you find that be the case last season as well, when we were, you know, tier 5? Did you think that, you know, you were sort of almost surprised by how good tier 5 was?
Not, I will be honest, not really.
Really?
I think there are some standout teams at Tier 5, like Sutton Coldfield, who, you know, they really should be playing higher than that level.
Yeah.
But what I will say is the step up is massive.
Okay.
Like the step up from Tier 5 to Tier 4 is huge. And it's no good for anybody winning 11. I think we win a game 19-0 last year.
Something like that, yeah.
That's no good for anybody, and you know the leagues have got to look at the structure and you know really think about how they're going to improve the game. But I think that we are, I don't want to say surprised, but I think looking at where we are, I don't think anybody thought we were going to be where we are.
No.
The standard is such a step up, but we deserve to be here, and
100%.
we've shown it and we've proven it. So as long as we can keep doing what we're doing, then you know we should be okay.
Yeah, you say that. Yeah, obviously we're round about the halfway stage of the season now. Second half of the season. How do you see that going?
I mean, hopefully very well. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think there's anybody that we've not played yet in the league now.
No, I don't think there is. No.
So we know what people's strengths are, and we know how to kind of exploit their weaknesses and things like that. I think it's just about us staying focused and just continuing to work hard. I think we're going to get to the point where there's a big cluster of games, and we've got to be wary of potential injuries and things like that. I mean, like Alex, bless her, like she's struggling with a quad, and Meg Hadley's had a tear, and that's kind of new to us. We didn't really have that in the squad before this season, and it just shows you the levels that we're at, because the intensity is much higher. Which is why it's important to have such a strong 16 that can go out there and fill in those gaps sometimes if needed. But yeah, we've just got to stay focused. And the one thing is that I think opposition. I can't speak. I'm gonna edit that.
Yeah.
Oppositions have this misconception about us that we're loud and I think people are quite surprised sometimes when the players are like, actually we are really nice girls.
Yeah.
Yes, there is a lot of noise, but that spurs us on, and
Exactly.
that's what we want. So yeah, I think we just got to keep going and just got to chill out a bit.
Well, there we go. Looking forward to the second half of the season. I think that is where we're going to end it. We've been rambling for 36 minutes here.
Have we?
Yeah, I told you it was going to be a 20-minute thing. So I don't know how that's flown by. But Amber, thank you so much for talking to us today. I really do appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having me.
And yeah, make sure you're subscribing, folks, and we'll see you later. Bye.